We're here today to talk about the very important issue of when to get a second opinion. Over the years, I've been involved with thousands of second opinions, and it's always a little bit different. But when I think about the issue of second opinion, there's one second opinion that really stands out in my mind. And normally I'd have Sherry, who's my long-term patient, talk about her experience, but Bill is the one that expresses it from the husband's point of view. So a little bit different take here. But Bill, thank you for coming. Sherry, thank you for coming. And
Glad to be here.
tell us all about it, Bill. How did it?
Well, it's not a good story.
It is a good story.
Sherry had fallen, and her breast just never ever recovered. And then it started turning black, and the nipple started getting inverted. And so her primary doctor sent us to a surgeon there in Claremont, California. And we went in with our daughter thinking, it's benign because everything kept coming back, that inconclusive. And so, you tend to hear what you want to hear. So we thought, all right, we'll get this little tumor taken out. We'll go on in life, and everything's fine. The lady came in that was the surgeon. I'll never forget, she came in and slumped back in this chair like we was going to have a beer or something, and had no x-rays, no anything. And right out of from the very beginning, she said, well, looked at your x-rays, you have cancer. This was on a Tuesday, and she said, we're going to take off both your breasts on Friday.
Both of your breasts?
Both.
There was nothing wrong with the other breast?
No. Well, we don't know anything.
Okay.
And so I asked, are you going to do a PET scan or a CAT scan or a biopsy or anything? And she said, no. Once we get in there, we'll figure it out. And so I was like, no, I don't think we will. And Sherry, I'm sure she had a few words that she had to say, and we got up and left.
So Sherry, let's just interrupt. Now tell me, so you're sitting there thinking probably a benign change in the breast, a little biopsy, and life is good. And
yes. What a shock. Well, first of all, after seeing the doctor, I walked out of there and I said, I won't be back here. To Ginger and Bill, I said,
Ginger being your daughter.
Our daughter. And this doctor was just cold. It was just too, I wanted answers, and she just didn't have them and said, we'll figure it out. So luckily, one of our best friends is a doctor, and he called me at home that evening and asked me how it went, and I told him, and he said, well, I don't know that doctor, but I do know one. Give me till in the morning. The next morning, I thought he would call, and I answered the phone, and it's this voice that says, good morning, this is Dr. West. And I was a little taken back, and I said, yes. And he said, your doctor just called me and would like you to come in.
Right.
And I'd like to see you tonight. And I said, oh, I can't do that. I just went through this yesterday. And as you could feel the panic in my voice, and you were very calm, and you said, no, I'm not that doctor. Just please come and see me. I'll see you tonight. I was your very last. Everyone had closed up except you and your nurse at that time. And we came in, and what a different experience. We came in, you had the mammogram up to explain it, to look at. You did an immediate biopsy, and then, set me up for PET scan.
You did a needle core biopsy.
You did a needle core biopsy.
Right. So we just took out a little piece, looked at it under the microscope, and that was done under local, and that was bother you much?
Piece of cake.
Piece of cake.
It really, the difference in calming my fears, I still was a basket case, and as we went through the journey, it got better because I had you on my side, and you were talking me through it and working me through it, and that's where we started. And here we are, April 27th, 2004 is when you did my surgery.
Oh my gosh, I can't be that old, can I? Bill, she said she was a basket case. Is she exaggerating?
No.
Oh. Tell me about it.
I don't know if you remember, we had our daughter with us that came with us that night. And what I remember about it is you came in, gave her a hug. You had never met us before. We left the other surgeon. I'm sure she felt the same way. She's going to die. And you came in, gave her a hug, and told her everything's going to be all right. You're going to be fine. Showed us this mammogram that you had put up on the screen and said, looks like you have cancer, but I've been 100% sure before. And we're going to do a biopsy. Well, we went in and did the biopsy. Our daughter was there. She passed out twice. And
She's a great singer. She's a great entertainer, but she's not for blood and guts. We know that.
Yeah, and that started our journey. But I don't think you ever had a patient like Sherry. Probably hadn't had one like that again.
Well, she was intense,
Well,
and you could feel her pain. But this is, some people just don't show it as much. But I don't think there's somebody that gets the diagnosis of cancer and doesn't think it's the end of the road. And it's our job really to look them in the eye, give them a hug, tell them, there's tremendous progress been made. Things that were killer cancers a decade ago are disappearing with treatment now. So there's always hope. And one of our interviews a few weeks back was with Barbara Scott. She was 34, and they told her, it showed up in her lungs. They said, "This is it. Do your will." And how here she is 30 years later in the same program that you're involved with helping as a volunteer. Tell me about your volunteers and what have you experienced being a volunteer, a survivor?
After going through it and becoming a survivor, I knew I could help women. With the fear that I had, and you helped me through it, a lot of women aren't as expressive as I was, and I was crazy. I'd never been sick. I'd never had surgery. So this was, you feel like it's a death sentence.
Right.
And all you want to think about is, oh my God, I want to live. And I think I told you, I can live without a tit. I just want to live. And
fortunately, this isn't going viral, so we're all right here.
But just now to be able to give back feels so good because I know I can help a woman. I can help. I had someone call me today, and I called her back, and we playing phone tag. But I know that they want someone that's been through it, and that we're honest, we're truthful.
Right.
You're
a survivor, and
we are a survivor.
If you can survive, I can survive. I think that's kind of the feeling that they get.
And not only survive, but you're just gonna. It gives your life more of a purpose. I mean, I always have been busy and done wonderful things in life, but I have to tell you, this now is more of a purpose for me than anything.
That's wonderful. Well, you two both contribute a tremendous amount to the education. And I know, Bill, you and I have been involved in some husband support groups.
Yes, we have.
Do you have any unusual experiences?
Well, we've had a few. I remember one time we had a big man. He was a white person, and he had married to an Asian wife. And in our support group, he made the announcement to all of us. He was a divorcer. He didn't sign on for this. And I can get emotional sometimes. And I remember I happened to be sitting next to him, twice my size, and I said, I hope when you die, if your wife passes, I hope you die just as painful as she did. And I hope you're all alone, just like her.
I remember that case, but I remember another where the fellow had done something very similar. He kind of kicked her out of the house almost.
Yeah.
And I didn't believe it because your support group paid her so she could stay in a motel the day before her surgery. Well, he shows up at one of our husband support group, and he says, "You know what? I want to tell you all in this group, I'm a jerk. I can't tell you what." And he kind of went over the story, and he said, "I feel so badly about what I." So it does turn around. I mean,
And husbands, honestly, the breast center is the only place that has a support group for husbands because husbands don't know what to do. They feel helpless and they feel hopeless. Right. Where you've always been able to take care of your wife or supply for. In this case, it's not. It's her, and you are helpless. And I think that you and Bill having a men's support group is one of the greatest things I've ever been part of because it really helps them be able to talk about it and get answers.
Well, there's some really fairly simple rules that we've kind of learned, and the husband comes to us and say, "Well, you're not supporting me." You say, "Well, I don't know." When I try to support you, you say, "Well, back off. I want to do," and they're caught in the middle, and basically they just have to hold a hand and listen, and that's normal. The woman's going through a lot, and you're not. There are certain things you can do to help her, and certain things you can do by just being there and letting her know you love her and you're supportive of her. But it's fun to see the guys actually respond. As a guy, I think it's
and the vast majority. We're talking about one or two here. The vast majority really open up. The thing that you had asked me to become part of this support group, and then the leader of the support group died in just a few months, so all of a sudden I inherited this.
Not of breast cancer, though.
No, not a leukemia, I believe it was. But the thing is that a husband, and I raised my brothers. I had 3 brothers. I raised them. And then I managed my Sam Kennison, my comedian brother, and I managed him. So my whole life was taking care of people. Mm-hmm. And for the first time that I could ever remember, I was faced with a situation I have no control over. That's difficult for a husband, difficult for a boyfriend. We're supposed to take care of them. We're supposed to protect them. Mm-hmm. And it's also difficult for a man to open up. And I think the men's support group was so fantastic on we've seen guys come in there that you're thinking you're never going to get to these guys, and every one of them eventually open up and give their story. And they find out you're not all by yourself. Right. But, and we make it very clear, you're a cheerleader. Mm-hmm. And that's hard to accept, but that's what you are. Mm-hmm. And Sherry and I used to playfully, at least I was playfully, I don't know about her, but argue about who had it the worst. And she'd go, I have breast cancer. And I go, yeah, but I would take that in a second for you not to go through that. And now I'm helpless. Yeah. And we were doing it jokingly, but there's a little truth in there. It's very difficult for the men. I love the support group. It's very therapeutic for me, and I think it's helped hundreds of men. I really do.
And Sherry, now you've done the support groups too, and what is your experience with the?
I love when we have a new support group of new women coming in to start their chemo or getting their new diagnosis. I think they need help and answers when they first are diagnosed. It helps them to, understand more of what's going to happen, what they're getting ready to go through. And I think it really makes a difference for them. I'm telling you, I remember I was at the center one day volunteering, and they came to get me, and they said, Sherry, we have someone that's getting ready to go into chemo, and she's going to leave, and we think you could help her. Well, she was doing the same thing I did. I was walking out of chemo because I wasn't going to do it. The fear is overwhelming. Her name happened to be Sherry. I walked in, I said, let's just go talk for a few minutes. Within 20 minutes, she was ready to go start the fight. Mm-hmm. But she was going to walk out. So I think we can make such a difference in women's lives.
I know you can make a major difference. And Bill, it's great to have you here.
Thank you, Dr.
I think
West.
This is an example of what going the extra 9 yards, getting that second opinion. It may be inconvenient. Yes. There may be an expense involved. If you aren't totally happy with the care you're getting originally, or even if you want just a different perspective on it, it's available and something that every woman who's been diagnosed with breast cancer should think about.